and Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
Hiya, you alright?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I say joining me, but you're not really joining me this week. It's weird. We're going back to 1 week only doing the podcast remotely, which is really weird, and it's thrown me completely. I don't like it. I thought it'd be weird when we did it face to face, but this is just like completely thrown me totally.
Yeah.
So on this week's show, we'll be breaking down all the latest comic book movie news, including more potential episode details for What If, a big Supergirl reveal in the Flash movie, the new Shazam family costumes, because they've all been released, or pictures have been released this week. There's a new Suicide Squad trailer, and also the potential for a Marvel DC crossover. Have you read anything about that, Anthony? Have you heard about this?
I have not.
You haven't?
This is the first I'm hearing about it.
It's probably not as exciting as I'm building it up to be perfectly honest. Like clickbait in podcast form, this.
Oh, no.
We're then going to be doing our full breakdown of Loki episode 3, which is Lamentis, I think it's titled, before we discuss all your thoughts and theories in this week's Podfans Assemble. This is your spoiler warning, so there will be spoilers and speculation throughout the episode. I say speculation, we never get it right. We will do we will do 1 week, but it's got to happen at some point, doesn't it?
Well, technically, I've potentially got something a bit right from last week.
Did you? What did you get right for last week?
Well, I said,
Can you tell how shocked I am in my voice? What did you think you got right from last week?
I said that I thought that the timekeepers weren't real.
Well, we don't know. They're not real yet.
Well,
I've said spoilers. It's all right.
That way, innit?
Go ahead. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, maybe they were real and they're not. But yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, speculation. We might be right. It's got to happen at some point. As I said, it might have happened already. If you want to skip ahead to the Loki review or to Podfans Assemble, we will put timestamps in the description as well, so you can just skip straight to that. Should we start with news then? So this big news then. So the potential Marvel and DC crossover. So this all boils down to James Gunn on Twitter. So someone on Twitter asked James Gunn if he was to make a Guardians versus Suicide Squad movie, who did he think he'd win? And his first reaction, just proper James Gunn, was he said that the fans would win, which is a very cool answer because, to be fair, it would be a
that is a good answer.
It would be good. It's like he's been trained how to deal with like the media and publicity.
He's the only one.
I know. I was going to say that because some of the things is you sit there and you see these tweets and these interviews and you're thinking, surely somebody must have told you not to say this sort of thing on interviews.
Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo were definitely sat at the back, falling asleep or pissing about,
just not paying attention. Yeah,
clearly.
Mark Ruffalo clearly missed the bit where he says, "Don't live stream a movie from the premiere." What was it, on Facebook Live or something like that? He did.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. So he was then asked, James Gunn this is, if he ever thought that a Marvel DC crossover could happen. And he replied, he said, "I've casually talked to the powers that be at both Marvel and DC about it. I'd love for it to happen. I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's an impossibility either. That said, just constantly seeing crossovers and mashups is less enchanting to me than a strong story." Do you think it could ever happen? Do you think we're at that stage now, we could ever get a crossover in like live action form?
If I'm totally honest, I'm not sure Marvel would want to.
No, I think it'd be
unless DC got their shit together. I don't think Marvel would want to potentially drag down the work that they've put in my opinion, right now.
It'd be more of a burden for Marvel, but it'd be like a massive potential uplift for DC, wouldn't it? But it's got to be, I think they've got to get to the stage where it would be, particularly with the live action stuff, it needs to get to the stage where DC are doing a little bit better, a lot better than what they have done. They've got so much potential though. But I wonder, it's like because we're going to go into What If in a second, but the likes of What If, where we are looking at like alternate universes, maybe they could like test the water with something on Disney Plus, like something animated on Disney Plus, just to see what the reaction is. And if it goes well, then they could potentially explore it further down the line. If not, just let it die. let the idea die. But then at least they can say they've tried it, can't they? So talking about What If, it seems like every week on the podcast we have another little bit of story detail about what an episode's going to be, and it's always from the Illuminati. This week is no different. We've got it again. So the Illuminati have had another apparent set of episode details. Couple this week. The first one they released was about the Killmonger episode. So Eric Killmonger from Black Panther. So we already know he's going to be in an episode because we've seen him in all the promo art. But the Illuminati are saying that rather than going after the throne of Wakanda, Stevens will go international thanks to a new friendship with Tony Stark.
Oh.
So again, it's another episode that Tony's in, and I don't know, is he going to be the villain? It's either going to mean that Killmonger's good or Tony's bad, but it is what if, isn't it? So
yeah,
could go either way. I was thinking when I saw this bit of news though, I mean, all the episode details that we seem to have had, or potential episode details, do seem to be from the Illuminati, and Tony's in a lot of these, and it's like, is it? I thought they were going to be like sort of spreading the story out a bit, so I don't know whether I believe them all now, because it seems like every other story is like about Tony Stark.
Well, because we talked about this before, but I've only just seen this trailer that apparently came out 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But I've only literally just kind of seen it in the last couple of days, sorry. And although I have seen Tony Stark on there, so I do know that he's making an appearance at some point, like, all the stuff that I've seen is a bit different. So, like, I've seen, a good Doctor Strange fighting an evil version of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I've seen what essentially looks like Black Panther playing... was it Captain America?
No, Black Panther's going to be T'Challa. T'Challa's Star-Lord. So that's the next...
Star-Lord, sorry,
that's the next bit that they've announced, yeah.
And then there's like a British version of Captain America.
Yeah, it's not Captain Britain. I think everyone thought it was going to be she's going to be Captain Britain, but she's just going to be Captain Carter. But yeah, I mean, they're the main ones that they're going to be. I don't actually think it's been confirmed how many episodes there's going to be yet.
No.
But it does seem like there's going to be more and more. And don't wrong, it's good that we're getting these little bits of information, but it would be quite good if it's a bit of a surprise. Says me, who's sitting here ruining it for the listeners every week and telling them what every episode is going to be. But it could be completely wrong, to be fair. So they did also at the Illuminati release a few details of the T'Challa episode. So again, we already know he's going to be in it, and he's going to be this universe's version of Star-Lord. But they've said that he will be leading the Ravagers in this universe, and in this version, they're going to be a group of reformed criminals. So they're going to be good rather than like the kind of bad guys that they are to a degree. Yeah. So it's kind of like they're going to be the Guardians. I would say
hearing Yondu's voice in the trailer all over again.
I know, yeah. To be fair, I did as well, because I know most of the original cast are coming back to play their parts, minus a couple. I would imagine. I think from the top of my head, I don't think Chris Evans is coming back as Steve Rogers,
isn't he?
And I don't think so, and I would highly doubt that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Tony Stark. I don't know that for a fact, but I just can't see it. I know it was Chadwick Boseman's last performance as T'Challa though, so that's going to be quite interesting to see as well. I'm really looking forward to it. I do think it was speculated on before Loki came out, but I do think that it's going to go from Loki straight into this, and I know that's the release order anyway, but I'm now feeling more so that it's not just going to be a load of separate stories just to sort of fill the gap in the summer.
It's going to be like this is actually happening in the multiverse, and it's giving you a bit of insight to what's going on.
100%, and it's going to be brought on by whatever the events are in Loki. Talking about that, I haven't even got this written down in the news, but something that the news has been lacking for weeks, and I can't believe we've still not got to it, is the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer.
Yeah,
we're not that far away from it now. No. I did read an interview this week, and I apologize, I can't remember who was interviewing. It was with I think it was with Kevin Feige, or it might have been with somebody else from Marvel. But it was confirmed that even though Sony are basically handling all the marketing for Spider-Man, because it's obviously it's a Sony movie, it's not Marvel, they are consulting with Kevin Feige to make sure that the timing of it is right, and it's done in the correct way. And I think a few people, and I think it's probably right, I've seen on like Twitter and Facebook, are talking about maybe it's the fact that because Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a multiverse movie, we've not actually got the multiverse yet in Loki, and I know we think we might have it, so maybe they're waiting for the Lokiverse. Maybe they're waiting for the multiverse to be completely created and established in Loki.
What if
they go in? Go on.
What if the last episode of Loki they do a second end scene, and it's a scene about Spider-Man?
Could be.
How good would that be?
Could be. It'd be amazing.
I'd be excited about that. I'd we.
Yeah. You'd we.
Yeah.
Lovely vision there for the listeners. Well done, Anthony. But then, do you know what? Talking about it though, I'm a little bit scared that maybe they're not going to establish the full multiverse until the end of What If, which could mean it's going to be a long time before we get the trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home. It's got to be soon.
Maybe.
Gotta be soon with all these little teasers. Moving on from Marvel for a bit, then on to DC news. We've got a lot of DC news this week, which is good because it makes a change. It's been very Marvel heavy, the news section for the last couple of weeks, hasn't it? So we've got some Flash news. So for the last couple of weeks, Flash director Andy Muschietti has been giving us sneak peeks at his superheroes logos on Instagram. So we had the 89 Batman logo a couple of weeks ago. We had the Flash logo on his new suit last week. And then this week, he's given us our first look at Sasha Cal's Supergirl logo on the new suit, which looked brilliant straight away, to be honest. And then that was quite quickly followed by some set photos, which show the suit completely, basically. So it's classic Supergirl to a degree, but it's got a sort of like two-tone. It's like red and blue rather than just being blue with the red cape. There's no cape on what we can see, but it is like a wire rig suit. So I would imagine they're going to probably put the cape on with CGI later on.
I'm not convinced on it, if I'm honest.
On the suit,
yeah,
it's got a bit of it's definitely got a different look to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
See, I didn't like it at all the first time I saw it. I sent it to you, and I texted it to you, and we were both like, not 100% sure. But the more I've seen it, the more I sort of appreciate it. And the other thing is that it is a wirework suit, because obviously she's harnessed up and meant to be flying in it. And the wirework suits do tend to look a lot different to a degree to what the final suits look like. Somebody with pictures on Twitter, I think, and they were showing you what the wirework suit looked like for Black Panther in Civil War, and it looked crap. It didn't look anything like the finished product.
Well, we said this with the Spider-Man suit as well, didn't we?
Yeah, again, I mean,
when it was the wirework.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's so much they can do with CGI. Whether I trust DC with CGI after what they did with Henry Cavill's wibbly wobbly lips in Justice League, I don't know. It could come out a complete mess, but I've got I'm hoping it looks all right, because I said we've seen talk about Shazam in a little bit, but the leaked set photos of the Shazam suit looked rubbish. They didn't look great at all. And now that we've seen them on screen and in like a clearly worked photo, they look quite good.
Looks
now.
A lot better.
Exactly, they look a lot better. The set photos as well for the Flash also showed Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton on set as well. And I know we already knew we were getting Michael Keaton, but just seeing him on the set made me really think, right, this is it. We finally know. We finally know we're getting him now. It's like, because I don't think we've had official confirmation.
No.
That he's in it. It's all been sort of like hearsay and seeing him. It
was all talks and rumours, and then there was the whole, is he going because of Corona? We don't know, so it's not confirmed.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then and then it's been said that he's been seen on set, or shadows of him have been seen on set.
Shadows of him?
Windows.
I didn't read that. Really?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Didn't you say that like someone like I can't even remember what happened, but someone saw them filming.
Oh, there was the dude.
And said that they'd seen the Caped Crusader.
They'd seen a guy. No, they'd seen a guy. There'd been reports that there was a dude walking around the set in Buckinghamshire, in England, with like a long black cape. And they finally got the pictures, and it was just like a member of the crew with a big leather jacket.
Oh,
that's all it was.
Okay,
but yeah, so we've finally seen him on set. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's gonna be. This could, it's multiverse, isn't it? I do feel like this could be the movie that sort of sets everything straight, because it's a bit of a
tone. Well,
I mean, sets a tone, to a degree, but it's like it all seems a bit of a mess with DC at the moment, like what's canon and what's not canon and all that sort of stuff. So this is if they're going down the multiverse route, this is a perfect opportunity for them to just say, right, okay, this is all these universes, that's why there's so much different stuff going on, this is it, we're going to fix it, and this is canon going forwards, and just hope that they plan well and they take the time with it this time. Bit more DC, so we've already mentioned it. So Shazam, Fury of the Gods. So we've already seen some set photos, as I said, of Zachary Levi in the Shazam costume, which we didn't really like at all. So the movie's director, David F. Sandberg, has released a picture on Twitter of the entire Shazam family on set, all in the new costumes. It's clearly been worked to a degree, like lighting and stuff, It looks the Shazam suit looks a lot better, but the whole family look really good. To be fair, I like the sort of the way they've tweaked all the costumes to a degree, but all for the better, in my opinion, compared to what they were in the first movie, which weren't bad, but they just look a bit more grown up. Is that the right way of putting it?
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on with them, but they do look a lot more grown up. One big change that a lot of people have picked up on straight away for the photo is Mary. So Mary Marvel. And the eldest sister from the Foster family. In the first movie, the young version was played by an actress called Grace Fulton, and then when they all turned into their adult versions, they got a different actress in to play her, because they were all different actors for the adult versions. It was an actress called Michelle Borth. In the sequel, Grace Fulton is playing the young one and the adult version. So they're just like using like hair and makeup to make her look a little bit older in the suit, which makes sense, because if she's if obviously a couple of years have gone by, and she was already like going off to college in the first movie, so it would make sense that she doesn't look completely different now, and it's a completely different adult playing her, because she's kind of become an adult anyway, isn't she? But so she's the only one who's going to be playing both roles, which which again,
that's pretty cool.
It's quite interesting, quite clever, because I wouldn't have put it past this movie or many other movies to just go, oh well, she just looks different when she's in the suit. She just looks different. We're going to get a different actress in just to sort of follow it. I think it's quite clever the way they've done that. We also got our first look at Helen Mirren on set as well, as in full costume as Hespera, I think her name is. She looks. It's again, because it's not like all the correct lighting and stuff like that. It looks a bit silly, for want of a better word. It's like really like full on comic booky, but again, hopefully it'll look better when we see it in like the right lighting and on screen. Another bit of news then, not Marvel or DC, Transformers 7 news. I mean, why are we getting a Transformers 7?
Well, I thought they were 7? Rebooting after Bumblebee.
Well, it kind of is. So it's been announced. I think we already knew there was another one coming. They are calling it. It's being called in the press like Transformers 7. They've given it a proper title. So that's the bit of the news. So the director Stephen Caple Jr. has announced that the title is going to be Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. So it's not Transformers. It's not like number 7. It's going to introduce all the Transformers from the Beast Wars cartoon series that was on in like the 90s. So the Maximals, the Predacons, and the Terracons. So this first time they're going to be in the franchise. And he also revealed that the movie is going to be set in 1994. So it's not going to be a sequel to the Mark Wahlberg ones. It's going to be kind of a sequel to the Bumblebee one, and it must be a reboot to a degree. But I don't think it's going to I think it's like a soft reboot. So it's going to be set in the same universe, and it's not going to change what's happened in the movies that have already been out in the future. They're just sort of going earlier on. It is going to have Peter Cullen back as Optimus Prime as well, and this is going to be his first mission to Earth, basically, because Bumblebee's already there. I just don't think we need another one. Or if they're going to make another one, I don't think we need another one now. I think it's just, I don't think Bumblebee did particularly well, did it? Did you see Bumblebee?
Yeah, it did.
Was it good? Did you like it? I've seen bits of it.
I actually really enjoyed that one, to be fair. I felt like it was a bit fresh.
Okay. So hopefully this will be it. But you know what? I just think if this one doesn't absolutely nail it at the box office, and the critics don't all think it's fantastic, I think it's just time to not completely let it die, but just give it a rest for a bit. Well,
I found out some news today as well. They are releasing a 5-minute extended kind of trailer for Jurassic World Dominion.
I believe so.
They're only doing it on the IMAX version of Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah, I read
which I'm really annoyed about, because I don't watch Fast and Furious, but I'd be well excited about Jurassic World.
It'll be online.
I know it'll be online, but I just think that's a bit of a naff way to do it. You kind of, I don't think the same people that watch
in a film that it was delayed massively, wasn't it? Fast 9. So again, it's already been through. It's like Black Widow. It's already been through like its whole marketing phase pretty much, and it got delayed because of COVID. So it's like if you just start hammering all the trailers. Yeah, if you just start hammering a load of trailers at it again, it's going to be like, well, we've seen, which to a degree it feels like with Black Widow, it feels like we've seen so much of this film already. Yeah. So they're probably just going down that route.
Yeah.
But it'll be online. It'll be online after like half an hour. There'll be like a camcorder version. Does anybody have camcorders anymore? A phone video version.
Yeah.
So last bit of news then, we got very last minute, just before the podcast, we got a new Suicide Squad trailer.
Yeah.
They had a bit of a mess with the release though, apparently. So it started before it was even released or announced. It started popping up as a YouTube advert for people before they clicked on other videos.
Oh.
And people got it from that. People went looking from that and started like ripping it from that. So in the end, they released it properly. I don't know what they were thinking. There's obviously just been released in that way slightly earlier than it was supposed to.
Oh dear.
Still looks good. Much more, I think you said, much more serious tone to this trailer. Still looks funny. There's still funny parts in it, but it's got a much more serious tone to it, this trailer.
Yeah.
But it still looks really good. And it's got a much more heavy focus on Idris Elba's character, Bloodsport. So it does get me wondering whether is he going to be the main character of the movie. I mean, Harley Quinn clearly is going to be one of the main characters, but
I think
I
think from all the other ads, I think I kind of had the expectation that it was going to be John Cena.
Did you?
Yeah. I kind of felt like.
Oh, I didn't.
Not that he was the leader, but I feel like he was kind of the focal point.
Oh, right, okay.
It could just
depends
be
on what stands out to you on the trailer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, there's so many of them, obviously, in this new Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
There must be like 15, 20 of them in there. And I think a lot of people are expecting, as am I, that a lot of them are going to get killed very, very early on in the movie. like as soon as they go into this mission.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll probably end up picking out like 4 or 5 who will be like the main characters for the film. I think Pete Davidson is probably going to last 2 minutes. I even think Michael Rooker's probably... Yeah, I think Michael Rooker will probably last like 5 minutes as well. I think, and Nathan Fillion. I just get the impression that they're all...
I don't want Nathan Fillion to die too soon because he's too good.
No, neither do I. They're all good if you look at the cast.
Yeah.
Like, everybody they're getting involved in this is amazing. But I just get the impression that it's going to be... If they don't kill off a large number of them very early on, it's going to be a lot of work to sort of give them all the screen time that they need to sort of establish the characters. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them died quite early on, and then we moved forward with like Idris Elba, John Cena, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag.
Yeah.
So I just a mix of actors and characters names there just to throw everybody. But yeah, I think that's probably what'll happen. We also find out in the trailer that the mission for what we think is the main mission for the movie is to destroy everything to do with Project Starfish, which is clearly going to be a nod to Starro, who obviously we saw in the trailer. He must be the big bad in the episode, mustn't he? In the movie.
Yeah,
he must be the big bad in the movie. I'm talking episodes because this is like comic book TV now, isn't it? So yeah, that's all the news for this week. So shall we move on to Loki?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's move on. So episode 3 of Loki, Lamentis, it's called. I'm pronouncing that right, aren't I?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's how it's pronounced now anyway. So Loki episode 3, Lamentis, spoilers from now. We've already given you the spoiler warning, but we are going straight in with spoilers. We're not going to do a non-spoiler review. We're just going to go straight in. We're going to talk through the episode, break down the biggest parts of it, and obviously do a bit of theorizing along the way. So the first part of the episode, then the opening, started with a flashback. It was a flashback. So it was a flashback of the variant, who we'll just call her Sylvie because we find out her name's Sylvie later on in the episode. Yeah. Pulling like a proper Inception type style thing against C20, who was the Minuteman or the Minute Lady from the previous episode, and who she kidnapped. And she's basically doing it so that she can get all the info on the TVA and find out where the timekeepers are. She finds out which elevator basically she needs to take in order to get to the timekeepers before seeing Loki and Mobius arrive at the Rock's cart. It took me far too long watching this to realise what was going on. Like, I was sat there thinking, as soon as we sort of opened on C20 and Sylvie, I didn't recognise that it was C20. And I
didn't at first.
Didn't you?
No.
I just don't think it was glaring. It was only when she started, and I don't know whether that was intentional, but it was only when she started asking, like, how many people are guarding the timekeepers that I got on
that was
the
when
fact
I got
that it was her. Because in the comics, Sylvie, and again, this is, it's potentially going to spoil things, but again, Marvel tends to go down things a different way. But in the comics, Sylvie is a human who was given her powers by Loki, by an older version of Loki. So I thought we're going straight into that now. This is it. We're gonna find this out straight away.
And this could be the Richard E. Grant thing that we said about.
Potentially, yeah.
He could be the older Loki.
Exactly, yeah. So I was sitting there thinking, this is it. We're going to find out that she's human, and she's not. She's not a form of Loki, or that she's not anything else. And then obviously very quickly it became not quick enough for me, because I was sat there thinking, what the hell is going on here? It's completely through me. But obviously it's kind of a flashback to like older memories of C20. I thought it was really good the way they did it though, rather than her just sort of like interrogating her. Them actually showing us the methods that she used and how she went about doing it. And obviously it's like a little bit of a tease, isn't it, for what gets revealed later in the episode about who the Minutemen and the TVA actually are. But I thought it was a really good way of doing it, because they didn't need to do it. And to be fair, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably done for the purpose of throwing us to be like, what the hell is going on here? Who is this? Rather than it just being part of the interrogation. So, anyway, after the titles roll, we see Sylvie arrive at the TVA through the time door that she went through at the end of the last episode, very closely followed by Loki. She quickly realizes that her magic doesn't work, and instead she has to take out the Minutemen by hand before she gets confronted by Loki as well.
But fair play to her skills.
Oh, I know, yeah. Hard as, isn't she?
I know.
So Loki arrives, tries to bargain with her, tries to sort of rationalise with her, and then that's when Ravonna Renslayer arrives, and Loki ends up using the temp pad, they're called. I think we called it the time door control in the last episode, but we now know, because they say it every 15 seconds, it's the temp pad, and he uses it to escape with Sylvie. So yeah, I mean, I've written down, Sylvie is like ruthless. When she was going in there, just like she was using the pruning stick on them, or the Broca stick as we call it. She was just like absolutely like no holds barred. And we see her like even more vicious like later on in the episode when they have that fight on the train. But again, it threw me a little bit when she tried to enchant the first guard that she got to, and it didn't work. I was thinking, why is it not working? And it took me again a few seconds to realise she's in the TVA. So
I was onto that straight off.
Oh no, it took me. I'm having a slow day because I didn't get onto any of this stuff in this episode. I love the fact that Loki went and got his daggers. It's like he was about to head straight after her, and it flashed the locker, and then he went and got his daggers out the locker. And then I just think that, I mean, the chemistry between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson as Mobius has been absolutely brilliant. And it was only on my second watch when I went through this that I realised Mobius isn't even in this episode.
He's not.
Owen Wilson's not at all. And again, on the second watch, I realised how good the chemistry is between Loki and Sylvie, because it's like it's very similar, but it sort of takes it to a different level. Like, they've got so much banter between the two of them, and I think it's quite good as well, because they're clearly meant to be two different. Obviously, they're variations of Loki, but it's kind of just like different sides of the personality of Loki that we've seen so far in the MCU. Because it's like the Loki that we've now got in this seems to be leaning towards a very sort of good version of Loki. Yeah. And he seems to be as if like he's sort of come to the realization that none of this matters. You know, all the power that had been after previously, you know, it's not as powerful as it could be. And he seems a lot more mellow now in this series, Loki. Like, and again, leaning towards good. And then you've got Sylvie, who is still like the cynical opportunist side of Loki. So it's like
she's very military though in comparison, isn't she?
Yeah,
because she keeps talking about missions and stuff like that all the way through the episode.
Yeah,
which makes me think that obviously, you know, it's a variance that she has had a different upbringing or something, but it kind of makes me want to know a little bit more about that side of things as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't really get. I mean, we touch on like the mission and stuff later on in the episode, don't we? But it still doesn't really give much away, and we start to like dig into a little bit of her backstory. But again, she's keeping it all quite close to the chest. Yeah, but it makes me think: is what she's saying true, or is she just manipulating Loki?
She's keeping him at arm's length because of the whole.
Exactly.
She's met him through the TVA basically, so she doesn't know whether he has turned or not.
Yeah, she doesn't, and she doesn't completely trust him. But I just think it's great that it's like part of Loki's appeal and the way Tom Hiddleston, has always sort of played him is that he is a very he's always sort of like grappling with himself, but it's always Tom Hiddleston doing it and having to do like, am I good, am I bad, and just now having two different people playing it.
Yeah, but it's still him grappling with himself. It's still what's essentially an internal monologue.
Exactly, yeah. And I just think it's, when you think about it that way, it's very clever. And whether she is a Loki or not, it's still very clever because that's how it's being portrayed. But even the banter between them, it's like, I can't remember what she says. She says when he first shows up and he says like, what are you doing? Or not I've come to bargain, but he's like, what are you after? And she says like, go away or something, or probably something worse than that. And he's just like, oh, rude. Very rude or something like that. And again, it's just the fact that he's just having a conversation with himself. Like you said, it's an inner monologue, but just being played out basically. Yeah. But yeah, the whole banter between them is brilliant. So after they drop through the temp pad, they arrive on a moon called Lamentis 1, which is where obviously the name of the episode comes from, and it's in the year 2077. And this moon, Lamentis 1, is about to be destroyed by, I assume, the planet that it's.
Can we just point out the graphics on this point?
I've got that written down. Not just the graphics, just the whole set design. Is amazing, and it is literally like film level on a TV series. Yeah, and I don't think it's TV series budget, like, because I think these have got the budget of movies, but it's amazing. I mean, all the shots all the way through. It's like that. Are you talking about like when you first see the planet and it's coming down? Yeah, like it just looks. The whole thing looks amazing. It's brilliant. Yeah, I think later on as well. I mean, we'll still follow the story, like, but later on when they head to try and find the power for the temp pad, and when they're heading towards that lady's house who ends up shooting them both. Just like the sort of the landscape behind them and the colouring of it. Yeah, it's just so good. Amazing. And then later on in the episode, when you just see that huge chunk of like planet just land and really, really slowly just eat into the background of the moon. Just absolutely one of the things that I've got to say, and you might not know this, Nick, because I don't know whether you've really kind of played a lot of games on like PlayStation and stuff, but this gave me a massive Borderlands feel. Do you know what? I've not played Borderlands. I didn't think you had, but like just the design of it in general. It's kind of like that dusty, deserty, cratered planet. Yeah. But then even the buildings later on and stuff like that in Borderlands 3, there's like a particular town that they go to, and it just gives you kind of all of those feels with it, and I just think it's really, really cool. I think the fact that they've done something that can kind of bring it to life in a way, if that makes sense. I know what you mean. Yeah, and I think when you think it's like, I mean, we don't know it. We've not seen like all the behind the scenes of this or anything like that yet. I'm sure we'll get to see it in assembled when the series finishes. But from how they normally make movies, Marvel, I would guess that all of this is CG. So they've not gone and filmed in a desert or anything like that, which I know some movies do. Because I think we watched like when the Mortal Kombat movie came out, there was like a behind the scenes, and they'd literally gone to a desert and filmed it in a desert, which is why it looked so cool. But when you think that this has probably all been completely created on a computer, and some of it doesn't look it. It just doesn't look at it. It could, if somebody told you it was a desert and they just put a color filter over it, you'd believe them. Apart from obviously the big piece of planet falling down, but it's just they've just done such a good job. And I also think it's brilliant how it's so. I mean, let's talk about like the set design. It's so different to the TVA. It really had its own feel. So like the TVA is all like very like 60s, 70s inspired, very like first couple of episodes of WandaVision. And then this is all like, I know it's the future, it's 2077, but it's all like the neons and all the neon lights in the city when they get there, and the whole like bluey, it's like it's tone. Establishing that you know exactly where you are when you're there. Yeah. Like they're making them so kind of polar opposite to one another that you know exactly where you are when you get there. Yeah. So potentially, so that when they start jumping back through these temp pads to what maybe they'll end up revisiting these things at the end towards the end of the series. Again, I just think you hit the nail on the head. It's absolutely brilliant. The set design, the whole landscapes, the CG is absolutely brilliant. Anyway, so they find out that so Sylvie basically tells Loki that obviously the moon's getting destroyed and it's one of the apocalypses and it's the worst possible apocalypse that he could have brought them to, because nobody gets off the planet basically, or nobody gets off the moon, and it's going to be destroyed in a matter of hours. Sylvie tries to enchant Loki before revealing that she's actually spent years trying to kill the timekeepers, and it's been her mission, like you said, for absolutely ages. And also that's when she sort of reveals that her name is Sylvie. She says, "Don't call me Loki." She doesn't say she's not Loki. She said, "I changed my name." So
yeah,
it's so again we're still going down the route that she is a Loki, and they basically end up very reluctantly teaming up to try and find a power source for the temp pad.
Well, it's that level of mistrust, because they both know themselves so well, and they know that they'll like turn on each other at any moment. That the whole reason that they're keeping each other alive is because they both have kind of half of the same thing. She knows where the timekeepers are, and he's got the temp pad. So
but that's a really good point that you make, though, because it's like when she says that to him, because I think she mentions to him that she's kept him alive because he's got the temp pad when she saves him from one of the rocks, and then he saves her. And she says to him, the only reason you saved me was because you don't know how to charge the temp pad. That's right, isn't it? And he doesn't seem convinced. He's like, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's why.
I don't think that's it. No, I don't. I think this is literally the last conversation that he had with Mobius at the TVA was the fact that everything's an illusion. So this to me is just kind of another form of that. He's gone back to he's been met with himself, and it's kind of like, although it's him, it's another version of him, and it's kind of like that thing where he's got to put that illusion back up because he doesn't know kind of where they are and whether they've got the illusion in place and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like he's still got to prove himself to be the best version of Loki.
Yeah, I did wonder that as well. It's like, because when she's the fact that Sylvie's gone through this whole the enchantment.
Yeah,
I was questioning myself all the way through the episode. Is this an enchantment? Is this really happening, or is this a way of getting to Loki? Because it wouldn't surprise me if we find out that this whole thing, the next episode, the whole sort of from when they fell through that temp pad at the TVA up to now, could all be an enchantment by Sylvie on Loki to try and get a bit of information on something. What she'd be after, I don't know, and it's probably wrong, but it did go through my head a couple of times, to be perfectly honest. So
fair.
Again, the only other thing I'd say about it is, again, there's so much more like bickering and banter between them, but then there is
hilarious.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then there is a really weird moment though when she tries to enchant him, where they kind of the bickering stops and they're just sort of like staring at each other, aren't they? And it's like, what's that about? Because it's like, if you'd go down the romance route, wouldn't you, if it was any other TV show? But as far as we're concerned, and we know, and they both know, they're them. Do you know they're
but
it's him.
But at the same time, he does love himself. No, he does.
He is he's a proper egotist, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's kind of like I don't even know if it's whether he'd want to. He'd see if he could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's that kind of thing as well.
Potentially. So they set out to try and find power. So after one hilarious failed attempt to try and find power, which we'll go through in a second, Loki ends up disguising himself as a guard to sneak onto a train to take them to the Ark. So the Ark is the ship. It's the last ship off the moon.
I was wondering what you meant then, because you were like, he disguised himself as a god, and I was like, a god?
A god, sorry.
A guard.
No, not a god. He is a god. He doesn't have to disguise himself as a god. So when they board the train, they end up bonding a little bit more. They find out some new info about Sylvie and some new info about Loki, which we'll go through in a sec. And then Loki ends up getting drunk. They end up getting thrown off the train, and it destroys the temp pad.
Can we
in the
also?
process.
I believe that the song that he was singing was Norwegian.
Was it? Somebody asked me about this on Twitter.
I think so. I can't be certain, but I think it was Norwegian, which obviously would then relate to the origin of kind of Odin.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So if that is the case, which I think it is, I can't be certain, but like that's also pretty cool. Just kind of giving that little nod, if that's
the level of detail.
Yeah.
The level of detail on it, yeah. So let's go back a little bit though, because just want to go back to the bit with the old lady in the house when
that was hilarious.
That was brilliant. The whole thing, and do you know what? I could see every little bit of it coming, but I didn't enjoy it any less.
Do you know what? I didn't.
Didn't
see,
you?
I didn't see the second part coming.
Oh, I saw that coming.
Let's talk about it.
So obviously, they reckon that there's power in there, or that whoever's in there's got power. So Sylvie just tries to burst through the door, which again, it's just showing the two different sides of Loki, both basically trying to work.
Well, again,
together.
It's a very military approach. Just barge in it.
Yeah, and the way she kicks the door down as well, but obviously it backfires, gets shot a mile back, and then suave Loki kicks in, and it's like, let's think about this rather than just going all guns blazing. So he sees the picture, he tries to sort of talk her down, doesn't he, first, and then he sees the picture through the window and turns himself into her, I don't know, ex-husband,
or ex-husband, dead husband,
whatever. Yeah. And as soon as he stepped in front of that door, I was just like, he's just gonna get shot. He's gonna say something that she's not gonna buy. So when she says, "Is that you, Patrice?" and he goes, "Yeah," I was waiting for it there, because I thought that's not gonna be his name. That won't be his name. This will be a test. But it turns out that he says something like, "I've missed you" or something, and she said he's never said anything that nice.
Never been that nice to me.
Never been that nice. But again, just the fact that it's like, again, the sort of, even though they're the two sides of Loki trying to work together, they've potentially just lost out there, and it's not potentially going to get off the planet, and they're still arguing, laughing at each other. It's like,
what I love. It's like they're both missing something that would make them unstoppable.
Yes,
because you see that approach, and you see that kind of, they're both not quite getting it right. But then later with the guards, like physically with the powers that they've got, they can get so far without the other, but they can't get the whole way. And that kind of, to me, shows that there's always something missing from Loki, which goes back to the idea that he is there to make others like their best self. Yeah.
But it's got me kind of wondering about obviously that when they're together, that when they're trying to do things separately, like obviously like when they're trying to get on the train, like you just said, it doesn't work, and they need sort of to work together to get there. But even working together still doesn't quite get them to where exactly they need to be. Yeah. So is there maybe a third or a fourth element of Loki and another variant of Loki that we're going to end up meeting that's going to basically be, create the Loki? Do you get what I mean? Like the complete Loki experience. I don't know how to say it, but do you know what I mean? Like, is there another element to him? Because it's like we've got the good side of Loki. Well, I think that's probably where we're going to go. We've got the good side of Loki, which is Loki. We seem to have the opportunistic and sort of still maybe not pure, maybe middle of the road more with Sylvie, it seems. Like, is she good? Is she evil? But, sort of shoot first, ask questions later. But we've not really, with either of them, if they are both in fact Loki, seen the evil side of Loki yet. And there's definitely an evil side. And I know it's all supposed to be a front, but there's definitely an evil side there. So it does make me think, there's gonna be, because she's not the baddie. She's not the villain of this show. I'll be very surprised if she is. There's got to be a villain to this.
This again is why I think Richard E. Grant is going to be that person. Whether it is an older Loki, whether it's Mephisto, whether he's the head of the timekeepers.
You're still going on about Mephisto.
I'm not giving up. I am not giving up.
We're convinced we're gonna get a Mephisto in here.
We are going to get him at some point. It's happening.
He's got to happen at some point, hasn't he? Yeah,
it's happening.
Definitely.
So but
talking about them getting on the train, then again, the banter between them made me literally like laugh out loud when Loki turns into the guard, and it's just Loki, and it's just Loki in a suit, isn't it? And he says, "How do I look?" And she says, "Like someone with a shit plan." Just like brilliant. Amazing. Literally had me laughing out loud. And then the voice that he does when he's dressed as the guard.
Oh my god!
Like,
I
all the way through.
So much.
He's like, "I've been told to bring this woman onto the train," and all that sort of stuff. It's like, he's going deeper every time he talks, and puts on a slight American accent.
How are we? Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
It's like that kind of thing, isn't it?
It's brilliant all the way through. And then, like, even when he gets on the train, he's still doing it until he sort of like sits down. Yeah. And again, the human side of it, like little bits, like when she sits down and he goes to sit down, he's like, no, I can't sit there, I can't go backwards on a train. It's like
that made me howl.
You're the god
because
of mischief,
I know so many
you
people that are
Asgardian.
like that.
I know, yeah,
so
so
it just
do I,
makes
to be
me
fair.
laugh that the god of mischief is like, can't go backwards on a train.
He's like this ultimate level, like superpower at the end of the day. He is like, it's like Nat says in Avengers, these are gods. You know, they're at a whole different level above humans, but he still
Yeah.
can't sit backwards on a train. And how like how many times has he been on a train? Do you know what I mean? It's like he spends most of his life on Asgard, but yeah, again, just little things like that. And then it's when we start to, this is when we find out a lot more about them, or we think we do. We obviously know that everything that Loki's saying is correct, but it's when we start to get more information on Sylvie. So they start having about the conversation about each other's mothers. So he obviously tells Loki tells her about Frigga and the fact that, you know, he was adopted and she's dead now, and we find out a little bit about Sylvie's mum. So she knows she's adopted as well, which would sort of lean towards them both being Loki. But and she's not got her mum either. She died, I think she said, when she was very young. But they seem to have this is when this whole conversation of like love comes up, and it seems to be a big focus of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For quite, they keep coming back to like what is love, and I think again it just, they're not human, clearly they're Asgardian, or we think they're both Asgardian, but
yeah,
I think it shows that none of them are really bad. That the intentions, it's like I think we've established that Loki just wants to be, you know, he's a scared little boy, like Mobius said, and he just wants to be like loved and admired, and it's probably the same for Sylvie, and it just shows there's a very human element to them. They just, they can't. It's like neither of them can grasp what love actually is, and that's probably their downfall. Why they are the way that they are, because they don't get it.
They're missing something that they want but don't understand.
But that's the thing. They want it. They don't want to be. They don't want to be. Oh, I want to rule. They don't want to be Thanos. They don't want to be ruling the world. You know, ruling everything and killing everybody and all that sort of stuff. There's like a method to the madness.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, it's the way that they want to go. We also find out, I think, because it's when Sylvie's asking, you know, I think she says that I don't know whether I couldn't tell whether she was joking when she said there was a postman. I said, "Is there any?"
Thought that was hilarious,
but I didn't know whether on the first time I watched it, I was like, "It's a complete joke."
She never stops in one place. She's always traveling. So
yeah,
who better to date than a postman?
Well. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, so. And then she asks him, she says, have you ever, you were a prince, there must have been some wannabe princesses that you've been with, and potentially some other princes. And he says, a bit of both.
Yeah.
That's literally his words, which I think it's been hinted at before, but this is the first sort of confirmation that we've got that Loki's bisexual.
Yeah.
Which I think is great, the fact that, I mean, I can't believe we've got to this stage in the MCU, 24 movies now, you know, and a couple of TV series, and he's not the first openly like, you know, LGBTQ character, but he's the first hero. He's the first main. He's the first main. The only other character was Joe Russo, wasn't it? In Endgame, who was in it. It was just basically a cameo in it for like 20 seconds. Yeah. But I think it's great that they've done it. And I think it was expected anyway, to be perfectly honest. And it's great that they've gone down that route, but it did make me think, how have we got this far into the MCU? And this is the first. I know. This is the first, like, you know, bisexual character. But we've got there finally. Yeah. So it's good one by Marvel. So,
and do you know what? Like, just on another point within that, I love that there's no play on any of the stereotypes as well. Yeah. Because a lot of the time when people do kind of play gay, especially straight actors, they sometimes kind of go with what is perceived as a stereotype. For example, James Corden in Prom. There was a lot of backlash off that because people found it borderline offensive. I mean, I say borderline offensive. People were outraged by it.
Were they?
And it's,
I've not heard any of this.
I mean, James Corden isn't the most popular of people anyway. But you look at anything online, like there was a really bad backlash off his portrayal because it's just so overly.
I assume you mean like it's that's what I was going to say. Yeah, normally when you see people portrayed as being gay in movies, not normally, but a lot of the time they are like it's the stereotype. It's
it's what that perceived kind of expectation is. So for him to not be kind of flamboyant, I mean, it's a bit camp because he wears a cape and he has horns and
but that's
all
just
of that
Loki's
kind of stuff.
That's just Loki's character.
And that's what I mean. So there's no I'm all for it, to be honest, because I just think there's no, it's just part of who he is. It doesn't have to be kind of outwardly presented every 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. And I suppose when you go back to Joe Russo's cameo in Endgame as well, that wasn't either, was it? I think it was like the conversation he was talking about going out on a date, and it's only when you got deep into the conversation that he said it was with a guy, and it's like you wouldn't have as soon as you started talking on a date, you wouldn't have sat there and gone, oh, he's going to say it's a guy or anything like that. But if he'd played it like you said, like really camp, it would have felt a lot more forced. And it's like, oh, it felt like, but it did feel a lot more natural. And again, this, I don't think it was unexpected, but like you say, it
was just played brilliantly. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was done in a good way. And as I said, the fact that they've finally got to that. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was saying. I couldn't think of what to say, but yeah, it was done. It was done with taste. It was.
Yeah.
So we go to we end up getting to Loki being hammered on the train, like singing the Norwegian folk song as you said, which is again really good, really funny. The whole like throwing the glass down and saying another, like Thor does,
like Thor. Yeah.
That was good. That made me laugh. And again, just the whole way he's acting, like when he's trying to get I can't remember what he's trying to get as a taste, and he's going, this goes really, really well with the figgy paws. Who's got the figgy paws? And he's like looking around, and it's just like he's off his face. And even to the point, which I didn't notice the first time I watched it, when those guards come in, because obviously they end up having this big fight with the guards, and Loki ends up getting thrown off the train.
Yeah.
Even in that fight, he seems drunk fighting. It's like the whole, like when he's like waving out the window going bye, and then when he throws the dagger and he misses completely, and it like nearly hits Sylvie in the face, and she's like, that was a rubbish throw. And it's like it's because he's still drunk off the back of it.
Well, I just kind of want to know what it is, because Thor has this conversation kind of in one of the early Avengers films, I think it is, when he says about the fact that it takes him a lot more to be able to actually get drunk than others.
Yeah.
So it's either Loki has drank a lot.
Yeah.
If he's also kind of on the same level as Thor, or they've got some really strong stuff behind the bar.
Potentially some really. It's another planet, isn't it? So you never know. You don't know what they've got. Yeah. And in that, we talked about Sylvie being like a bit of a badass in the first fight, but I think she was even more vicious in this one, which again showed like a darker side. Like at one point, she took off her crown and like stabbed one of the guards with the point of her crown.
Loved it.
Really good, but like. I mean, she's got a magic, so she could have just done it all magic wise. But it was like, I'm going in for the kill here.
With it.
Yeah, and again, it all sort of builds up to like in a couple of minutes. So pretty much now. So they obviously get thrown off the train, or Loki gets thrown off the train.
Thrown out the window.
Yeah, just chucked out.
So funny.
Sylvie realizes that he's got the temp pad, so she ends up jumping out, and so they're both off. And they have a bit of a kick off with each other, and that's when they realise that the temp pad's broken, because Loki's landed on it basically and squashed it. And she's fuming, and she like to the point where she screams, and all this magic comes flying out of her because she's that annoyed. Very
like
similar
pulse,
to like Wanda. Yeah, like very like Wanda's like chaos magic-y type thing.
Yeah.
And she storms off, and she's going on about the mission. She's like, again, which you've already said, she's like, I've got this mission. I need to stick to the mission. I've failed the mission. And it's like, we know the mission is to kill the timekeepers, because she's already mentioned that. But she says she's been going at it for years. What we don't know is why is she doing it? Is it her mission, or what she got against the timekeepers? That's the big thing, I suppose. Why does she want to kill the timekeepers? Loki wanted to overthrow the timekeepers so that he could rule the TVA, because he wanted all that power. I don't get the impression for 1 second, even though we're talking about her being an opportunist, I don't get the impression that's what she wants.
No.
It seems like more of a revenge mission.
Yes.
Or doing it for something else, and or someone else. And she doesn't when it's like, oh, that's it, the tempad's gone, we're stuck on this planet. She's not bothered about the fact that she's gonna die, because she's gonna, as far as she's concerned at that point, it's like, we can't get off this planet, off this moon. This planet's coming in like an hour, and it's gonna wipe everybody out. And she's more fussed about the fact that she's not gonna complete her mission. So I can only think it's either revenge, so the timekeepers have done something, as in like wiped out somebody in her life who. And maybe she's a variant because she's tried to stop it and change it, or she's doing it because somebody's forcing her to do it.
Yeah.
I.e., like somebody's got somebody who she loves or something like that. Maybe the Richard E. Grant version of Loki. I don't know, but it's going to be one of them. It's rather than just like her trying to overthrow the timekeepers. Well, at least that's how I saw it anyway.
Yeah.
So, moving on then, the two of them decide that their only way of basically getting off the planet now is for them to hijack the Ark and fly off the planet before it's destroyed.
Standard Loki plan.
Standard Loki plan, yeah. Hijack a ship. On the way, Loki, so we'll go into a bit more detail, but Loki learns that the TVA aren't created by the Timekeepers, but are in fact variants who've been recruited without knowing. Yeah. So, let's go into this then. So Sylvia's obviously explaining the enchantment to Loki and obviously how it works, and she's explaining that weak-minded people just can sort of, she can just sort of take control of the mind straight away. Yeah. But when they're stronger-minded, she has to create this fantasy based on their memories, and that's obviously when she explains that C-20 was a completely regular person on Earth, so she's completely human, and they're all variants. But obviously Loki's like, well, they don't know they are. I don't know why he doesn't. He seems very insistent on that they don't know. And I know obviously it's because Mobius has told him we've been created by the Timekeepers.
Well, because of their belief system and the way he's been spoken to. No, but even if you think about B-15 and the way she's spoken to him about him being like a cosmic like mistake, that kind of thing. There's one thing for people to lie about it, but it seems like a genuine kind of like a religious cult belief in it, because of the way they seem to worship these timekeepers. Which again, from me saying that I didn't know whether this was a lie, I've got kind of a partially another theory that's kind of going around my head is considering what you just said about Sylvie. And are getting revenge. What if she's getting revenge on another Loki variant who has done the ultimate mischief and is running the timeline?
Oh, yeah. Didn't even
what if
think
it
of
is
that.
Richard E. Grant doing it, and he is an older Loki that has managed...
And he's a timekeeper?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the timekeepers were just 3 Lokis?
Yeah, imagine.
3 Lokis, but I'd look. Can you imagine? Oh, how good would it be if Richard E. Grant was one of them, but the other
You've
two
got
were
Richard
like
E. Grant,
big actors who we had no idea were coming into this.
Yeah, and then you've got a Hulk Loki.
Yeah, a Hulky. Doesn't go.
No, it doesn't, does it?
It doesn't go. No.
I said it out loud and I knew it was in a mistake straight away.
It was an error. Yeah. We won't edit that out. That was fine. But yeah, I mean, that'd be brilliant. That'd be really good. We could be on something here, aren't we? This could be our time to shine here. I say our time, your time to shine. So anyway, so they all don't know. That means Mobius has no idea, apparently, that he's a variant, which again makes the whole conversation that he had with Loki last week even more messed up, because he's sitting there about having blind faith in these timekeepers, and he's a human who has been brainwashed into thinking that this is all happening.
Well, again, he might not even be human. There might be quite a few that aren't human, based on the fact that it's just that they've got no powers. Yeah. In the TVA, so they don't know that they can use them.
They all look human though, don't they? Do you know what I mean? There's no I mean, I was going to say Skrulls, you wouldn't know Skrulls, but there's no Kree TVA members that we've seen. No. There's no, but again,
for something like Skrull, if they're shapeshifters, maybe they've just kind of been forced into a particular, because if it's mind control, they might have just been put to look like a human and then not know the ability to shapeshift back into what they truly were. It's just that kind of thing, which could then lead to maybe a secret invasion.
It's like it's planned. It's like Marvel know what they're doing. It's been planned. Right? It's planned all the way through. So talking about people, Mobius obviously not knowing he's a human potentially. Yeah. I think the one person who definitely knows what's going on is Ravonna. I think she knows she's not been created by the TVA. She is. She's human. We knew something was going on with her anyway. We knew that. I think we gathered that she knew something that everybody else didn't know. And I think we've gone down the route of saying it must be that the timekeepers don't exist. Yeah. I'm not necessarily leaning towards that now. I wouldn't be surprised if they did exist and they are like these versions of Loki maybe, or somebody in fact. Yeah. But I think her big secret is the fact that she knows she's human. And I think whether she's supposed to know or not, we'll find out. But I think that's why she's got all the stuff in her office. So like the pen, the Franklin like the Franklin D. Roosevelt pen, high school pen. That'll be from her past, and it's it is a memory,
like a keepsake.
Yeah, I reckon we're gonna get with this episode. It was it wasn't like fillery. I mean, we said before we started recording, it didn't feel as good as the first two. Yeah. The more I'm talking about it, the more I appreciate it, because I think it's letting on a lot more. But with it just being purely focused on Loki and Sylvie. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't pick up. This is my prediction. It's not really like a big like twisty prediction, but I reckon that our next episode will be Mobius and Ravonna, and we won't see Loki and Sylvie, or we'll hardly see Loki and Sylvie till maybe the very end. I think the next episode. Yeah, I reckon the next episode will be what's happening at the TVA while Loki and Sylvie are doing this, because I think there's a lot more that we need to now focus onto Mobius and Ravonna and B-15 as well potentially, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the focus went really. So towards the end of the episode, then Loki and Sylvie arrive at the Ark launch site, and they basically start to fight their way through the ship, which again is brilliant. The whole fight scene. There's loads of magic being used in this one. There's one. Did I miss it or not miss it, but maybe not see it right? There's a building start falling down, and Loki stops it with his mind and flings it back up. Yeah, it's like something I didn't even mention before. Is he a Jedi? I think we mentioned it in the last episode, because he pulls something towards him in the rocks cart, which is very like Jedi. He sits there and does this and just throws a building back up into the sky, which I've never seen Loki do that, anything like that.
It would explain more about his complicated history with green men.
What do you mean with green men?
Yoda.
Oh, with Hulk.
And Hulk, yeah,
I know what you mean, yeah. But it's like, I mean, even like coming back down to him being like not weak-minded. Yeah. And, you know, when Sylvie's tried to enchant him, he's very, very Jedi. He's coming across, maybe this is the crossover, maybe this is the multiverse, maybe this is part of the multiverse, maybe this is a different Loki.
Mandalorian flies in and saves him at last minute off the planet.
Oh my God, can you imagine if that was the big twist at the end? Mando and the child flying in, or Ahsoka or something like that. But it's just like how he seems like he should have been a lot more formidable against the Avengers with this like power set that he's got. Yeah. But then it does seem to be a bit inconsistent. It's like he got chucked off a train by two, not human gods, obviously, because they're from this moon, but two like random dudes basically threw him off this train, and then in the next moment he's literally flinging a building with his mind. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I wonder whether we're going to get more into that, because I can't imagine that Marvel have done this and thought, oh well, people will just buy that, the fact that he can fling buildings with his mind and put them back up. There's got to be more to that. Yeah. Must be. But yeah, the whole fight scene was brilliant. But then again, before they can get there, the ship gets destroyed by a huge piece of this planet that comes down from above, and Loki and Sylvie just look like defeated. I was gonna say like it's the end of the world, but it is the end of the world, and they're basically just stranded. There's no ship, there's no temp pad because it's broke, and basically it's a matter of probably minutes now at this stage before Lamentis is gonna get.
See, this is my thing destroyed. Now. I reckon that Owen Wilson, Mobius, knowing kind of what Loki talked about with the apocalypses and all of that kind of stuff, I reckon he'll turn up.
Potentially, yeah. Someone's got to get them off this. I don't feel like this is going to be them. I don't feel like they've got this in them now to get them off, to get off that planet. But someone's got to come and rescue them. Whether it's Owen Wilson,
I reckon it'll be Mobius.
Yeah. Sorry,
but I reckon. I don't know. Like,
if she's working for somebody,
Well,
it could be whoever if she's working for somebody, if Sylvie's doing this mission for somebody else, it could be whoever has got her on the mission. Yeah. Could be Richard E. Grant Loki. Could be Cameo. Could be
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. We could get anything.
Could just be Wong.
Could just be Wong. Yeah. Wong just doing the rounds, wandering through different realities and different time periods. It could
with
be
a packet of Doritos or something. Just
do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if with a packet of Doritos. It wouldn't surprise me if we get. I've convinced myself now that the next episode is not going to wrap this up. I've convinced myself that, or if it does, it's going to be at the very end. But I've convinced myself that it's going to be a Mobius and Ravonna centered episode the next one. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me either if they've done enough damage here in this timeline that either the TVA show up because they've changed something and end up getting them out that way, or the planet doesn't get destroyed. I don't know what they could have potentially done to sort of stop that, but I do wonder whether
I'd love if it was something as simple as them turning up at that woman's house.
Something like that's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, but I thought, how could it possibly be? But
that's the thing, because no one's supposed to be getting off the planet alive, so there's no realistic way.
There's no survivors. Yeah, there's no survivors. And but you'd think then if they changed something that bad so that the planet didn't get destroyed, then the TVA would have to show up to prune that branch, and obviously then they'd bring him in. I think so. I mean that's the episode then, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I've went into this review thinking it wasn't that good. Come out of the review thinking amazing. It's like not answered loads of questions, but it set things up, and it's sort of it's even though not a great deal happened, there's been a lot of information in the episode, and it's sort of. It's got us onto like a much more of a WandaVision type of thing, is like the theorizing. I think that was going
to be my other thing. Could be Wanda that comes to get them.
Could be Wanda because she needs to. I don't know. Needs some help jumping between multiverses or something.
Well, yeah, she needs help with people that aren't kind of being sacred with the timeline.
Yeah, because
I'll save you if you help me get me boys. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah, could be anyone at this stage. I'm still convinced we're getting a Steve Rogers cameo at some point before the end of this. I'm convinced, even if he's just walking in the background, I'm convinced it's going to happen. I think the one takeaway from this, which is what's got me really sort of looking forward to where the season goes, is I can't see that Sylvie is the villain.
No,
I know I've already said it. She cannot be. I'd be very, very surprised if she's the villain in this.
Yeah, same.
It's a massive. She's playing a blinder if she's the villain, because she comes across as. I mean, we she'd hardly said anything at the end of the last episode, but it was sort of implied that she's the big bad. Yeah. So she can't be. But yeah, who it is, we don't know. We don't know. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
I'm excited for next week.
Already shaping up to be an amazing series. One of the best, if not the best. Should we do Pod Fans Assemble?
Yes, let's do it.
Pod Fans Assemble.
Okay, so earlier this week we asked if you could pick one surprise cameo for Loki, who would it be? So Steph Tittle is pretty much on the same wavelength as me. It was Wanda all along. And then she's like, dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We've got you. These are all from Twitter, by the way. Ewan saying Tony Stark. Imagine if he turned up.
What would you do if Tony Stark showed up?
I mean,
it wouldn't surprise. But I don't think anything would surprise me because of the multiverse. But I think
it surprised me.
From an actor perspective, if Robert Downey Jr. just popped up having ended his contract in Loki for 5 minutes.
See, I'd love it for if you just saw Iron Man turn up, but then it opens up and it's Pepper Potts or something. Like just another twist seconds after the first twist. You see it and then you go, and then it's Pepper Potts and you go, oh.
Or it's just somebody completely different.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like opening us up into the what if.
What if,
like the
Iron Man
it is
suit Steve Rogers?
And it's Steve Rogers in the Iron Man suit. Oh, that's it.
Or the Doctor Strange Iron suit, remember?
I need to see that, and I need to see that on screen. That would be absolutely amazing. That'd be cool. If that was it. That'd be brilliant. That would be amazing. Go on then, carry on.
We've then got Pam Reich, who said, I'd love to see someone like Hela, but not sure. But if not, I want Doctor Strange. Loki wants payback. Should be a discussion on this.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
What, after I've been falling for 30 minutes?
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't know that. He wouldn't know that, I suppose, would he?
Well, it depends how much detail he watched his life in.
Oh yeah, he's watched it all.
We don't know what he actually fully watched.
I think Hela would be a great cameo.
Yeah,
I'd be buzzing if we got her back. I think if we're gonna get a cameo, I mean, we don't know we're getting a cameo, but
yeah,
I think if we're gonna get a cameo, I think Doctor Strange. It's gonna be Doctor Strange or Wanda, isn't it? But I think Doctor Strange is probably the most likely.
Yeah, and we've got Davey AK who said the only right answer, and it's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. That'd be brilliant. There should be. Can you imagine if there was a variant of Loki that was the Matt Damon version?
There totally should be.
There should be
a thing.
There?
I don't know whether you've seen it. There's a video of Matt Damon who sits there and talks about him being Loki in Dogma.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he basically shouts out.
He has played Loki.
Yeah, he shouts out at Tom Hiddleston Loki. And says, I did Loki before it was cool, and starts making all this. So if he turned up now based on that would be hilarious.
I don't know which one I want. I don't know whether I want Loki from Dogma, who's have you seen Dogma?
No.
Do you know what? He's just as I know he's obviously supposed to be. He's kind of like the god. He's an angel in that rather than like an Asgardian god, but he is he's like Loki. He's like dead mischievous and stuff like that, but dark. He assassinates an entire room of directors at a company. Just goes through with a gun and just oh no, it's not him. It's Ben. I think it's Ben Affleck who does that. But he's that sort of he's like a proper killer.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether I would want that version or just the Loki from the theatre. But I think they missed a trick with when they were going through the different shots of Loki, all the different variants, when there was the Tour de France one and stuff that. They should have just had they should have just put a Matt Damon one in there. I'm hoping they didn't do it because we're going to get a surprise Matt Damon cameo later in the series.
It will be brilliant, to be
brilliant.
Fair. So then we've got Rachel Miller. Part of me thinks there won't be one. It'll be something amazing in a completely unexpected way. If it was, you'd think it'd be Doctor Strange because it's obvious, but if not, something maybe slightly relevant due to speculation, but more unconnected to Loki. Which is kind of leads me towards the Wanda thing because it's multiversey, but it's not actually connected to Loki.
Yeah, I sent you this tweet of Rachel's, and I think I've cut off the picture. Underneath, you put a picture of Peter Parker.
Oh,
which is what you said. You said something potentially Spider-Man-y, didn't you?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? That'd be brilliant.
Do you know what if whatever Loki's doing? What if he just finds the boys? What if it's not Wanda that comes into it, but what if he just finds the twins? Yeah.
Yeah, can you just imagine at the very, very end of the series, he just ends up somewhere. It all wraps up and he's done, and he's like, right, I'm gonna, whether he's the hero of it or something like that. He says, I'm gonna go and stay in this reality, and then he comes across the boys.
And then you see the shadow with the horns, and he just turns around, and looks, and he goes, "It's you," and then it just ends there.
Yeah, it's Mephisto.
Oh my god, could be.
See, I was thinking. Can you imagine if he just comes? Imagine if the cameo is Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. That'd be good as well, because setting up. But I like yours. You're on fire tonight, Anthony.
I'm trying.
You're on fire with all these ideas. That would be brilliant.
I'm just very excited.
The post-credit scene of the series is just him coming across Billy and Tommy.
Yeah, be amazing.
Amazing.
Then we've got Geeking 8. For me, it either has to be the Old Man Cap timeline or else Ralph Boner.
Ralph Boner, yeah, amazing. That'd be fantastic. I don't want Old Man Steve. I'd be all right with a bit with us getting a Steve cameo, but I don't want Old Man Steve. I want young Steve. But Ralph Boner, that'd be brilliant. That would wind some people up.
Yeah,
that would proper annoy people because the whole Ralph Boner situation wound people up anyway.
He followed up with, but no, seriously, I'd like Doctor Strange to rock up, or a multiverse version of Doctor Strange.
Maybe the bad version of Doctor Strange from the What If.
Maybe.
That'd be good.
We've then got Paul Sears who said, everyone hopes it'll be Doctor Strange, but I'm going to throw this in the hat as well. What if it is the Ancient One?
Yeah, she's already sort of cameo. She knows about the timelines.
Yeah.
She's already had a cameo explaining the timelines. So
and she was the one that warned them if anything was to break off, and that's what happened. So does she know that it happened when it did?
Yeah, but she mustn't know. If you think about that, we're getting deep here in Podfans Assemble, but she mustn't know about the TVA. Because if she knew about the TVA, she wouldn't have been bothered about them creating a separate timeline. Because they would have just rolled up and pruned it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if he hadn't, if they, obviously it was part of the plan for them to take the Infinity Stones, but
I was going to say it also makes their job kind of null and void, doesn't it?
Yeah, if she's there,
because how are they protecting the time if there's already someone protecting the time? Which again is why I don't think the timekeepers are real. I think that it's just fake. Anyway, and then we've found out. This is the last one now. We've got the weekly meet who just say Stanley.
Stanley, yeah, amazing. That'd be brilliant. That'd be absolutely brilliant. There should be a Stanley
as Loki.
Cameo. Yeah, a Stanley variant of Loki, a Stanley variant of it. Do you remember? I remember there was, and I don't know what. Obviously, Stan's passed now, which is awful. But in the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon, I think we've talked about this before when they did like the whole Secret Wars and all that sort of stuff, and they had loads of different versions. They had like the Spider-Verse basically, and they had all these versions. Yeah. And when they all came together, there was one version who was basically involved in this fight, and he didn't do anything because the version of that version of Spider-Man that came through was an actor playing Spider-Man, because it was sort of like our reality of Spider-Man.
Love it.
And the main Spider-Man from the show ended up going to that reality and going to see Stan Lee and swinging around the city with Stan Lee.
Love it.
It's because he was like, I've just found out you created me. I'm from an alternate universe where I'm real. Thank you very much, and all that sort of stuff. And Stan Lee did the voice for it and everything. So that'd be amazing if he ended up being the creator, or something of this whole, or just if we just saw that the timekeepers were real and it was just 3 Stan Lees, and they were the timekeepers. Love it. Amazing.
So then we've got thoughts on this week's episode. So we've got Christina saying, so Loki has a preference for guys and girls. That's interesting.
It is.
Yeah, which we're all for, so loving it. She's also said, I also liked the bit with Loki doing the Asgardian custom. When he enjoyed his drink.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It was good. Again, it was just a little nod, isn't it?
Yeah, it properly made me laugh, to be fair. Then Keeper of the Sacred Flame said Doctor Strange is going to save them both, is my bet. So again, we've kind of touched on that. But we don't know. It could be anyone. I think that's the most moment. I think if someone's going to save them, it's probably the most likely.
But I kind of hope it's not, because it feel a bit as amazing it would be. This shows how spoilt we are now with this sort of thing, like people jumping into each other's movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'll be a bit disappointed if it's Doctor Strange, because it'll just feel like too obvious.
Yeah,
but that just sounds ridiculous that I'm saying that, because if you said something like 15 years ago, you're going to get this thing, and this whole thing's going to go massive, and you're going to end up with TV series and all that sort of stuff, and you're going to get them jumping between the two. I'd be like, that's amazing. And now it's like,
But again, spoiler, like the end of Split. When you watch the film Split, and then it turns to the spoilers, big spoilers, and then not seen it, at the very end you see Bruce Willis sat at the desk, and it's the character from Unbreakable. It was it was something that we didn't even know was involved with it, and that
I know
just was one of the best reveals ever. And it's that kind of thing,
And I don't feel as many twists and sort of crossovers as we've had in the MCU. I don't feel like we've had that level of twist, because that came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
no one was expecting. I mean, I'm not saying no one. I can't see how anybody would have gone onto that was coming if you didn't know it was coming. No. And it was like a proper, it was a payoff to anybody who's like proper into the film.
Yeah.
And we need as many payoffs as we've had, even like Caplift and Mjolnir, which again is one of my favourite moments in cinema, if we're allowed to call it cinema, ever. But I don't feel like we've had the big shock moment yet, and that's what I want.
Yeah, definitely.
Batman, I'll save him.
And then imagine
that'd be a big shot. Superman, Henry Cavill with a mustache, saving him.
Michael Keaton turning up as Batman, and then them going, I'm sure you're in the wrong.
Nicolas Cage as Superman. No, Nicolas Cage as Superman showing up.
Right, so stop speaking now.
That's what we're going
You're on a timeout.
Make it happen.
No.
I'll have a drink of water while you carry on.
So then we've got our last one. This one was from Facebook, and it's from James saying Loki is now officially the first queer lead of the MCU in the official canon, which again,
canon.
Fab.
The sacred timeline, version.
Well, he's outside of it really, isn't he? Because he's TVA.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Which is a bit of a bugger.
Yeah, but
however,
he's only a variant. He's not that much of a variant, is he? Do you know what I mean?
No. But yeah,
and didn't we have another one come through from last minute from Paul Sears?
Oh, sorry, yeah, we did. So then Paul said, another brilliant episode tonight as we go more in depth about Sylvie and her mission and the news about the TVA. Had a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe about it for me and completely different from the first two. More about character development. Can't wait for episode 4. So yeah, we agree. I think it was the futuristic style of the buildings and like kind of the excessive neon signs and stuff, because you get a lot of that in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
In Nowhere.
But there was also a lot of humour in it.
Yes.
Again, with the banter between characters and stuff like that, which is very, very Guardians-esque, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the fact that the different places all had such a different feel to them as well, which I think Guardians have done quite well, because you always know when you're on a different planet in Guardians, because it's got a completely different tone, and I suppose that makes sense as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it's like the MCU's been great all the way through, but I do feel like we hit a point maybe in the last phase where it's sort of like really sort of clicked into place.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They're all similar in the way that they're done, but they're all different enough. Do you get what I mean? It's like they're taking the best bits of other films and sort of merging them into the new bits, which is what you need to do at the end of the day. If it works,
God, yeah, 100%.
Run with it, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for everybody for sending in all those thoughts and theories and opinions on who the cameo is going to be. Again, make sure you're getting in touch next week for the next episode as well. So should we do the wrap up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, thank you to everyone for listening to the show. Don't forget to come back next week for our review of Loki episode 4. I can't wait to see what the title is going to be. I'm convinced it's going to be something Mobius-y. You can find all our episodes at our website, thatsuperherothing.com, along with all of our social media links. So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Anthony is running the TikTok, and it is getting better every day. Some of the videos I like. You're doing well, Anthony. I like.
Thanks, mate. I'm trying.
I don't know what TikTok is really.
Yeah,
but
because that was the thing. Because I did want to make this point as well. Just before we close off, the Mobius strip.
Yeah,
in
I
Endgame.
forgot about that. Yeah, you told me about that, didn't you?
Yeah. So obviously, like when Tony is kind of trying to find a way to do time travel, they actually called the strip that ends up working the Mobius strip. So just that link between Mobius and kind of the time travel thing with Endgame, I was kind of like, oh my god. And then I did also love, like, when I kind of sat there and went through it, that nod of when the hurricanes come in, and obviously you've got the storm outside, and Loki kind of looks up to the sky, and I don't think that was by accident. I think that was on purpose. That was kind of a nod to Thor. And I just thought it was fab. So if you haven't seen it already on TikTok, check it out.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, yeah, because for a second there, Anthony, I was thinking, where are we going? How have we gone from that to this? But yeah, so Anthony's put like videos together on TikTok for that sort of thing, haven't you?
Yeah,
and you can see him on there, which is so yeah. Head over to the TikTok and the other socials as well, so you can contact us on any of our socials and submit thoughts and theories for next week's Pod Fans Assemble as well, or on the website there is a contact us page. You can go there and there's a link to leave us a voice message, and we can include it in the show. As we always say, if you've enjoyed the show, again, thank you for listening, but please do consider leaving us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It really does help us get seen and noticed by more people. So thank you to everybody who's done that so far. Other than that, though, I think that's us done for the episode. So thank you very much from me, and we'll speak to you next week.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
See you later.